Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 9th edition of the DXdao community call refresh. Today, we're going to take a bit of time decompressing from the ETH Denver events, highlighting some of the new DXdao releases, also be diving a bit into some important DAO talk topics, ending things off with open discussion about the Arbitrum airdrop, which we've kind of been chatting about in the pre-call here already, before everyone starts rolling in. Of course, that was announced for real this time. Not just a Twitter DM scam. And as usual, there'll be a POAP for this call. More on that in a little bit, but those of you that are around often know the drill. So a bunch of stuff to tackle today. Let's hop right into that, starting with the quarterly guild updates, aiming to provide contextual check-in points for each of the new DXdao guilds ahead of claiming the remainder of their budgets, particularly in this case for H1 of 2023. Chris, you have the most recent post on that if you'd like to dive a bit deeper into it.
Yes, this is more of an announcement for an announcement. So yeah, we're getting through midway through March, which means Q1 is coming to a close in just a few weeks, and the DXdao budgetary process is 6 months long, so that means we're getting to the midway point of that. So there is not an additional budget allocation discussion now. That will happen in a couple months for the second half of the year. But what we're trying to do here is have a little bit of an update on how the guilds have progressed so far, to give a broader update to governance, which of course will be important for the discussion on how resources are allocated for the second half of the year. So expect to see those both in the forum and then also like a quick call on presenting those ideas for anyone to attend. And so there are the 5 guilds, the 3 product guilds, Carrot, Swapper, and DXGov, along with Voice Guild and Operations Guild. So expect updates on some of the tasks and goals and responsibilities that were included in the first half of 2023 budget. And then also some maybe unexpected things that popped up or other things that took time of the guilds and a check-in on that, as well as a little bit of information on how the costs have gone for the guilds. So yeah, that'll take place in the next over the next couple weeks, and then alongside that we will do a Q2 funding proposal. So the way that we've done this now for this half, at least for this first half of the year in terms of budget, is we had the individual budgets approved, and then we sent a single funding proposal that funded all 5 of the guilds, because the guilds are existing on Gnosis chain, so we need a way to bridge that over. And so that will look to go on chain right around April 1st or around then, so that we can fund guilds for the second half of this, or I guess the second quarter is a better way to say it.
I love hearing April 1st as a date for things.
April Fools, of course, yeah. Well, and we didn't get to it obviously today. I mean, this is a big week in terms of dates and fun holidays. I mean, today is not itself, but obviously on Tuesday we had Pie Day, so I hope everyone ate their pie. Yesterday was the Ides of March for our Roman aficionados, and then tomorrow, of course, is St. Patrick's Day. So that's exciting. And this is also the week of March Madness, the college basketball tournament in the US. So anyway, that has not to do with the Q1 or Q2, but it does have to do with the dates that we are in right now.
Not to do with April Fools either.
Yeah, I was looking at RB9 too. That's one of my other transactions on Arbitrum in those early days. It was like, well, what can I do there? It's like, well, there's this cat GIF, and you can stake and get a token.
Funny enough, up 71% today.
Really?
According to CoinGecko. I miss RB9. Cool, cool. Well, next topic here, DXdao Treasury being a big topic lately. A lot's been moving in the forum, particularly surrounding the deployment of the Treasury. And of course, room for a new contributor who I see on the call, actually, Matty G. This has been just kind of surround DXdao financials, partly Picard Key, Avant-Garde, as well as the onboarding recommendation from the Operations Guild for Matty G. Are the kind of focal points of this discussion. I'm not sure, Chris, if you, not to call on you again, of course, but if you'd like to give some context to kind of those discussions as well.
Yeah, I guess I'd share maybe two things here. So right now there is a draft post from Melanie to submit an on-chain proposal to onboard Matty G into the Operations Guild. And then the second thing I will share here is the Operations Guild recommendation, which the group voted on. And yeah, you can see here, this is, I'm also showing it because it kind of highlights Davi, which I think looks pretty good. So you can see the Operations Guild, this is what it recommended in terms of a path forward. There's been a lot of discussion on how to deploy the Treasury, what exactly DXdao's Treasury needs over the last few months. The Contributor X Squad led a search for an individual candidate to fill this role. And then we also had great entries from Kaparki and Avant-Garde, and a lot of interesting stuff going on right now there. And so this was the Operations Guild being kind of the closest to that and also leading the search, put forth its recommendation in terms of what it felt was the best path forward. You can see the votes there on the right, and this would pass with 83% vote. So once that passed with 83% vote, now moving to a DAO-wide vote on the recommendation there. And so the recommendation is to onboard Matty G to tackle the financial operations, the accounting side of DXdao's finances, and then be open to exploring maybe some other investment management side of things. And I think the order of that I think is important and is what really I think the best path forward is for DXdao. So this has been discussed a lot the last few weeks. There's lots of stuff in the forum. There's lots of information from Avant-Garde and Kaparki about what possible things for the Treasury. So yeah, have a look, and hopefully expecting this draft post from Melanie maybe to go on chain tomorrow.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Just put the two Karpatki and Avant-Garde proposals in the chat. I've always called them Kaparki, by the way. So if you hear me tripping over my words with them, that is the reason. Cool. Before we chat events, just to quickly highlight our bi-weekly POAP here, which I will put in the chat. Simply participating in this call, being on the call, of course, which we have a snapshot of, and or participating in the chat within the hour window, will net you one of these bad boys. Will be sent out manually by What4 or Wayne. You can find them on the Community Supports tab on the right to confirm you're talking to the right guy. Just react to this image here. We'll make sure you're all caught up, and we'll be calling attention to this a bit again later in the call. But I just wanted to put that out there now in case anyone needs to move along. I know the ENS call conflicts with this one, I believe. Cool. So let's chat events. We have some contributors in Porto right now for ETH Porto. Hopefully we can get some thoughts on the next call from them. For today, though, we've had a handful of contributors who already have participated in the ETH Denver events. That included the official representation of Swapper as well. Last call, I think Sky and Chris particularly, I kind of asked you a couple questions, so maybe a good opportunity to do a little bit more questioning if you would both oblige. And I guess to start super stupidly basic, and maybe with Sky, what was the most interesting or unique part of ETH Denver for you this year compared to previous years?
Oh, you're gonna ask on the spot questions.
Yeah.
The interesting part of Denver for me, well, the overall, like the fact that it lasts for 10 days and there's like a whole bunch of different stuff, and there's actually a bunch of stuff that I didn't even get to go to. There was a layer 2 day, and there was also an interop day, which were both supposed to be really awesome. And those are just like totally side organized, like, you know, the autonomous events that happened. I don't even think with the permission of like official ETH Denver. And so the fact that ETH Denver has become what used to be years ago is like a 3-day hackathon on President's Day weekend is now like over an entire week of all different Web3 gatherings around all different topics in a pretty decentralized organizational manner. Even things happening like while ETH Denver official events are happening, it's become this giant organism of really interesting of a really interesting place to meet. And so this is the main for the Ethereum world, but it's not just Ethereum. This is the main big event I think of the year. It's kind of weird that it's in the winter in Denver, and that's the main event for Web3 and Ethereum and crypto in the US, the biggest at least. But it's grown even compared to like other events in the space that happen in Europe and Lisbon and Paris and whatever. ETH Denver has become this giant thing, and so the main event did feel a little bit, you know, it's the biggest it's ever been. It was at a new giant venue, and there's like every project had many projects had booths, and so that aspect of it felt a little bit convention-y, like a convention, like a Vegas convention. Yet then there were like stages with awesome speakers and topics mixed in with all that. So you had to like do a good, and everyone you want to talk to is there as well. So you had to do a really good job of like blocking out all the commotion and excess noise and everything that's going around, which was like crazy, and being able to either have one-on-one or small group conversations with people in the middle of that hectic mess, or pay attention to speakers and really good content that was happening on stages in different areas, also mixed in with the whole thing. I think overall my favorite event was still the one that DXdao and Swapper participated in, because it reminded me a little bit of the event that DXdao had last year, which is more of just a happy hour. So it was a kind of a larger version of a happy hour with other partners, and you really got to invite everyone that you wanted to see and talk to that event. It was quiet, well, it had DJs, but it was generally quiet, and you got to get a really great mix and crowd of people in the same place, and out away from the rest of the commotion of everything else that was happening that week. And so I still think that event was my favorite, because you got to be with everyone that you wanted to speak with, all in the same place with great food and great drinks. And we kicked it off with a couple interesting panels where the microphones had some problems, so we were yelling, but that was quite interesting. So, but there was so much good stuff going on during the week that I think everyone got to spread out and attend different things. A whole bunch of people got to be a part of great panels and then also present a handful of things. But then you got to catch up with everyone that you want to talk to in the space all in one place.
Yeah, thanks, Sky. I'm not sure, Chris, or I guess Ross G as well. I think you were there attending the event. So if you guys have anything to add, feel free to step in.
Yeah, I think ETH Denver is less technical, but still has very strong crypto, Web3, Ethereum enthusiast So it's a good vibe there. And yeah, it was a little cold, as Sky said, but I thought Sky, yeah, echoed everything Sky said there.
Cool. Well, thanks for the thoughts. I'm going to move to the next topic here. I suppose give the stage to you again, Chris, to chat a bit about the this month in DXdao post that you've put up for March. I guess it dives a bit into our participation, delegated our ENS through Caney Fork. So if you'd like to give a little bit of context there, please do so.
Sure. So this is just a review of the last month in DXdao. One of the things that is mentioned, I can link here in the post, is actually the ENS event at ETH Denver, which is a great opportunity to connect with the DXdao community. Had the NIMI team there talking with different groups. Also was able to connect with Karma, which is a DX Ventures grant, and that DXdao that also works with Karma also works with different DAOs on reputation and also DAO specifically. And then also got to chat for a long time with the ETH Limo guys who are very involved, obviously in the ENS community, but also very involved in the DXdao community. So that was really great. Yeah, just the two big updates in the ENS DAO to highlight. The name wrapper is the big one. So there's a draft executable proposal in the forum to officially launch or upgrade the protocol for name wrapper. So name wrapper is a big upgrade that we've been working on for a long time. The big advantage is that it allows you to have much better facilitation and management of subdomains. So, having Keenan.dxdao.eth or something like that. So that should be really cool. It also comes, with the new release of a front-end dApp. You can actually see now alpha.ens.domains, which is cool. And yeah, this is like, I think another DAO also doing protocol level governance, right? So this is not really they're not just funding different things, raising money and paying different things. This is actually the DAO itself that controls these part of the ENS protocol. So this is the second protocol governance upgrade that ENS has done. The second big thing in the last month is the endowment officially launched. So there was a November vote that selected Kopratki as the endowment manager. And then this month was actually the executable proposal that sent the funds 16,000 ETH. And they have already started deploying them. I think about 55% of the funds are deployed there in I think a quarter on Curve for staked ETH, a quarter on Aura BAO for staked ETH, and then about 10-11% in Compounds DAI and USDC market. And so, yeah, there was also a lot of discussion in ENS, like elsewhere, over the USDC DAI DPEG events. I thought maybe the discussion in DAO was not as interesting as the one in DXdao, but that was still a big topic there. DAO has all of their stablecoins in USDC, and so a lot of the conversation was just on the whole idea of diversification. Some talk of getting into LUSD, which of course DXdao already has. Yeah, so that's it. There's a couple other updates and interesting stuff going on, and links to things in ENS land that you can check out on the link.
Cool. Thanks, Chris, again. And you can find that here in the chat. Luigi, who's not here yet, is saying, y'all getting the Arbitrum DAO drop in the chat for those of you listening. We'll be chatting about Arbitrum in a minute. Speaking of which, moving on to our next topic, I guess the last part of the segment I would like to give an update on is a few product releases over this past little period. If anyone here is on those teams and wants to step up and give further context, please feel free to do so. All of this is public and in the chats and announcement channels. So starting first with Swapper Beta V19. Actually was released a bit before the last community call, but there was a small UI issue now been rectified with V19.1. So now fully available, usable. The release has a variety of great things going on, I would say. I'll highlight a couple of the major ones here. There are some additions to the new limit orders feature, including ProView availability. So now you can use limits in ProView. There's some changes in default pricing as well. So there's actually a 1% from market value indicated default price, which is a nice little UX feature. And it's good to be able to explore it a bit deeper with the ProView as well. I guess the other major update is EcoRouter supports, OX support was extended to Arbitrum, Optimism, and Binance Chain. Particularly, I would say our 6 focal points and chains for Swapper, the product. And of course, OX on Arbitrum, that's great. Nudge, nudge, airdrop. We also added 1-inch support. It's been integrated entirely on all of the supported networks, so was not before, as opposed to being extended. So now 1-inch is on mainnet, Gnosis, Optimism, Arbitrum, Binance, and Polygon, which is great to have. And you can use it now. So V19 swapper.eth.limo. You guys know the drill here. On a bit more of governance related stuff, Davi v 3.1.0, I believe. That is now live as well. There's actually a release newsletter you can find here in the governance forum channel in Discord. I will link to quickly. Copy a link. Oh, they don't have a nice preview window. Anyhow, that'll send you right to the newsletter. I'll do a bit of a verbatim highlight of that post. This is the release making use of the new data architecture in the recent version upgrade. This is, of course, a quote from Ross on the DXgov team. Here we use it to achieve a smooth integration of the subgraph in Davi without compromising on decentralization or code quality. And so all of this kind of includes the subgraph now being live on Gnosis chain, discussions and proposal experience linked together, a new voting chart, and kind of editing of discussions, which is good to have as well. The forum post here also has a kind of coming soon section that's governance 1.5 support, which has been something the team has been hard at work on. Decentralized subgraph, cow swap support, Tenderly simulation improvements, and more rich actions. And you can check this all out now on app.projectdavi.eth.limo, which you can find here in the chat. There we go. That's the preview window I like to see. Cool, cool. So that's our recap segment, what's been going on the last week or two here. Always good to chat about a couple things, particularly the guilds, treasury as kind of the main focal points, and a bit on the product side and events going on. Now we're going to kind of transition to a more chill Arbitrum token discussion and open segment. So the focal point of the call over now. If you have other calls, which it sounds like there's a lot of conflicting calls today, please feel free to not feel obligated. We will be chatting Arbitrum for a little bit, doing a live generation of art for the next call, and having a little bit more fun for the next, say, 10, 15 minutes. So thank you to those of you that are moving on. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. That would be the 30th of March. And yeah, let's move on and chat Arbitrum token, which Luigi has been asking for. Let me pull it open. I know, Chris, you were saying there's not really any thoughts, just that it's great it's actually happening.
Well, that was on the video. Which, like, yeah, and this, like, kind of Dr. Evil-esque character that they have for Ed is a kind of a fun thing, I think, that they like to play into. So I think that's fun. But yeah, I mean, I think this is anticipated is probably the wrong word, because I don't think that this is something that is, you know, anticipation kind of implies to me like there's going to be some new movie or new TV show or new song or something. You're waiting for like a drop of some sorts, when like this one really was just building, I think, for so long. And I think it just shows that doesn't matter the project in crypto, like eventually if you're doing things on chain in some way, you're going to need to figure out how to decentralize. And the only way that people really know how to decentralize right now is through distributing tokens. I think that's not necessarily a bad way to do that right now, but hopefully there's some other options to do that, or ways to do that in the future. obviously I'm a believer in non-transferable reputation as a way to help in that process too. So yeah, I mean, I think this is, I don't know how much of a headwind it will be for Arbitrum in terms of or I guess a tailwind. How much of a tailwind it will be in terms of having the token incentives that they can use to attract assets, projects to Arbitrum. I think that's clearly why all the other, typically tokens are launched. Optimism, of course, I think that was the reason they were more quick to move than Arbitrum in launching a token, was so that they could use the token in order to draw assets to Arbitrum. So it'll be interesting how they use that and whether that kind of further cements Arbitrum's place on in terms of the highest TVL L2. And then, yeah, I think the obvious question then is, what about Coinbase and Base? And I think there's a lot of talk of how that, of course, will not have a token. I heard Brian Armstrong say that yesterday. But that's kind of the next question, I think, for all of those. Are people going to move to Base to start trying to airdrop farm that? But yeah, I mean, it's a big day, I think, for DXdao and Swapper. DXdao has been. I remember talking to Arbitrum, I think it was like January 2021. John had introed us and we started talking about them. This is before they launched. This is when gas just started becoming a serious issue on Ethereum. And so everyone was looking to L2s or side chains, right? This is right when Polygon was taking off because it was cheap. But yeah, we knew layer 2s that maintain the security of Ethereum would be the best path long term, and I've been talking with Arbitrum guys for started, as I said, January 2021. Excuse me. And then Swapper, the airdrop, I believe, was end of August, beginning of September 2021, right after Arbitrum had launched, and it was the first airdrop on Arbitrum. I think someone said in the chat it was their first transaction on Arbitrum was claiming the Swapper token. So I think that's a cool thing. And we also had to set up a DXdao base on Arbitrum in order to govern that Swapper. So there's a base there that we haven't used that much, but still operates and can still do some things there as it relates to Swapper farming there. So it's kind of been a long time where DXdao has been, and the Swapper community has been involved in Arbitrum, so hopefully everyone will get some of this airdrop, and then I'm very hopeful and optimistic that we DXdao or Swapper are about to figure out exactly what we'll hopefully be able to take part in the DAO component of the airdrop, being that we were such an early participant in the ecosystem there. The specifics of that were actually not that clear, but I think they're just looking for a way more to engage the projects themselves, probably that built on Arbitrum, not just the users there.
I think the official post says more info soon, and Arbitrum soon is a big trademark soon. So hopefully it's really soon and not Arbitrum soon. But yeah, I don't see any reason why DXdao particularly as an entity would not be falling within that allocation. And we do have a good communication pipeline with the team still. Yeah, I'm just sad I never touched Nova. Not sure if anyone has any other thoughts. I like the thoughts you had, Chris. Optimism versus Arbitrum's kind of focus on the airdrop. I remember kind of the optimism focus period. Everyone's like, oh yeah, this is proving that Arbitrum is going to be 10 times bigger at least. So it's going to be interesting to kind of visualize at least like the governance and financial perspective where each of those stand with a more direct comparison. Or I guess more of a sentiment focused comparison if you want to be a bit more specific.
Yeah, maybe one other comment that I'm stealing from Nylon, who said this in a chat somewhere when he shared it, is that says Arbitrum calls it, quote, self-executing governance, which I think is relating to things that will be voted upon will be like executed on chain or enforced on chain. And I think this probably should be somewhat familiar to those at DXdao, familiar with our governance in terms of, we have a bunch of proposals that those proposals themselves are not suggestions to do things. They actually execute things on chain. We just had a proposal go through that bought DXD for, I think it was like 200 WETH proposal through CowSwap. And that was like executed on chain through the proposal. I guess self-executing is the word for that. Another word I like is is sovereignty, because those are all decisions or actions that the DAO itself is actually sovereign over or can do itself without relying or depending on any other entity. And so I guess it's kind of taking a swipe more at the signal proposal element of governance, which is, okay, we're going to just talk about these things we're going to do. We're going to present a plan and we're going to pass that through governance as if that is actually the last step. And so I think it's good that they're recognizing that there are differences and that the ability to control and be sovereign, the DAO itself to actually be able to execute on those decisions is really important. But I also imagine it is somewhat beneficial to have the ability to get the signal and feedback from the community, even if it is non-binding on certain matters. So, but an interesting, kind of element of the governance that they highlighted in their launch or announcement. I guess we haven't launched yet.
Hopefully this means I'll stop getting tagged in fake Arbitrum airdrops on Twitter. I thought that Elon was supposed to fix this. Crazy just looking at your notifications, the number, at least for me, of fake Arbitrum airdrops.
Dude, I don't know why people complain. I love the dopamine, even if it's fake.
Yeah, I have a second airdrop announcement from Optimism Founda with an A. I love these. It's sad that these are so prevalent, to be honest. Cool, cool. Well, thanks for the chat on that side of things. Going to do a quick 5-minute generation session here for the art of next call. I think, I guess something Arbitrum related.